dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up. In a Menudo Steiner direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Put your notification bell on also. That way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel. It's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled and very much appreciative, man. So gracias. So is Leche 7'4", is Milk 7'4" and Damian Porter, big Chinaman at Hoover, beefing? Did Milk expose something that Chinaman was doing wrong? Is there a beef there? Look, I fuck with Damian Porter's channel, Chinaman from Hoover. I respect him. I've been told a lot of stories about him. And this is someone, in fact, who I heard about when I was in the Youth Authority a lot. He was that one from Hoover, man. He was what you considered a big homie from Hoover. Very well respected, about the business. The biggest brother you done ever seen in your life, right? He was just a big dude. And I ain't gonna lie, the bigger you were, the more respect you were given right off the top until you fucked it off. And then you got chopped down to size. Now, Milk, on the other hand, said, come here, Leche, come here, right? It's just a little white guy that grew up in a black neighborhood from a black gang, man, who has gained his respect on social media and who ain't scared to keep it real. Now, there was a video that was put out by Damian Porter about one of their homeboys from Hoover called Goofy, Lil Goofy, right? Who was up and coming, a hitter, the next Hoover in line to be one of the big homies. He was doing his thing, right? Respects, I guess, on that front. There's always going to be hitters, man, that are making power moves, wearing shower shoes, doing that thing. And they're going to be given respect, right? Especially from someone from your neighborhood. If you recognize a little homie that's really out there earning his stripes and putting in his work, you know, when you're living that gang lifestyle, that's a big thing. That's how people earn their respect or earn a notorious name on the streets, by putting in work. Doesn't mean anything in society. It means you're riffraff and you need to get the fuck out and go sit down for a while. But in the gang lifestyle on the streets, it means something. All you have is your credibility, your resume, and your word, right? And not necessarily in that fucking order. Well, here's some knowledge you can't get in college. Damian Porter did a video about how this guy was putting in all this work, how they did time in the county jail together, and how he was the next one up. And then, of course, Milk had to chime in because him being from Hoover, too, he felt that if for no other reason, he should expose this guy, Goofy, and expose the true story. Now, I guess in Chinaman's video, he did say that little Goofy was on a PC yard, on a SNY yard, and he knew the reasons behind it, but it wasn't like people thought. Basically, he was doing a little bit of a cover-up for his homeboy, and I understand that, man. And that's why when I talk about individualism and homeboy favoritism, I've seen it time and time again, man. Dudes have homeboys from their body or their hood, and they try to cover shit up. You may know something that everyone else doesn't know, that 95% of the people don't know. Like, hey, man, this dude got a bad case, or this dude ain't really what he claims to be. But fuck it, he's the homie from the hood. It's the hood before anything. But it shouldn't be that way. It should be your morals, your standards, and the collective as a whole before anything. But a lot of people don't do that. And this is a perfect example of Chinaman not doing that, right? Not saying Chinaman, there's any dirt on his name. He's not righteous. He's not real. But I understand where he's coming from. But if you're going to do a story on social media, then you have to take the good with the bad and vice versa. You just have to. And I know it doesn't reflect bad on the hood. It doesn't make your hood look bad. It's just people are trying to hear the whole story. You can't sit there and say, oh, this fool's a hitter. He's a gangster. He was about the business. But then him have a wild case, right? Which is what Milk did. See, Milk exposed, I think Milk was fed up and had enough. And I'm sure he respects his homeboy Chinaman. I'm sure there's no drama or beef there, but can something like this spark drama or beef? Absolutely, especially on social media, because what you have is a lot of people in the comments and a lot of trolls that'll take words, twist it, make clips, all this shit, and turn a beef out of thin air into something. Where's the beef? Right there, right? They keep pushing that narrative. Now, I first heard about these videos or what was said on a live yesterday. Myself and Dubs did a live. They said, hey, did you see Milk try to bait Chinaman into a beef? Are they beefing? And I'm sure that Dubs can just pick up a phone and make a phone call and call Chinaman and ask him what's up. But I actually went back to the videos to watch. I watched Milk's video first. I watched Chinaman's video. And I see the discrepancy there. Okay, now look, this is real. Myself, Dubs, other content creators that are in the prison genre have told you guys before about the way motherfuckers wiggle. Not necessarily one race, one particular group, but how all groups show favoritism towards their homeboys. You know, I noticed it a lot in the black community in prison, you know, where people say, oh, they don't check paperwork, or people say, oh, they let fucking weirdos walk the yard, or oh, this, and that. I've never been privy to that. You know, believe me, if they didn't check the paperwork, we would. Believe me, something's going to happen. A chiruhu or a chomo or fucking a weirdo's not going to just be walking around the yard like that amongst the gente, amongst the people. And because northerners and blacks function side by side on the same side of the yard, it just wouldn't be right. You know, it could start friction between black and brown on the northern side. Now, you already know as far as the southerners go, them and the blacks have tension as it is on the prison yards. That goes way back in history. So there's no reason for the southerners to even really know what's going on the black side of the yard if they're checking paperwork, if they're not. That's why I get confused when I see content creators or especially guys from Southern California say, hey, the blacks don't check paperwork. How the fuck would you know? Because you're not even functioning on the same side of the yard. Just like they don't know when the blacks say, hey, Southsiders are allowed to snitch on blacks. How the fuck would you know? You're not even on that side of the yard. You don't know what they can and cannot do. Let me expose the myths and the lies, man. No one is doing nothing of the sort. The blacks are checking paperwork. The Southsiders are not telling on blacks. That's what happens. Maybe on an individual basis, people get told on by every different race. But as far as them being granted the green light to do that, that's a damn lie, right? So back to Milk. Milk does a video. And he basically tells Chinaman, man, if you're going to speak on the homie, if you're going to speak, let's keep it all the way real, and exposes paperwork showing what this dude did. Now, it's a little bit graphic, but let me expose what this dude did if you haven't seen Milk's video. So this guy may have been a hitter. He may have been putting in all the work. He may have gained a reputation in the hood for being that little youngster coming up. And maybe a lot of people fear him by his name because they heard of his reputation. But the case that actually put him in SNY, put him in PC, that Milk exposed is a very unsavory case, right? You know, these guys, him and another crime partner, Goofy, right? I mean, I don't know this guy from a spilt drink. But allegedly what this paperwork is saying, the righteous paperwork that Milk has, that he exposed and put out there, says that these two guys were riding around and they caught her with a prostitute, right? And they decided that if for no other reason to snatch her up and violate her for hours and hours. And almost to the point of no return, right? And then decided that they were going to pull a lick and try to have her get tricked so they could rob the tricks. And she wasn't willing to do that. So she got hands put on her. And this is a female, right? So from the beginning, this case is ugly. It's an ugly situation. Anytime a man is involved in a forceful situation where he forces a woman on any level it's not a good case, right? And it's not something you're going to be able to hold your head high when you get caught up in prison. You know, if these guys were just doing a robbery, and again, it's a female, you could argue that fact, man, why are they out there robbing a female, victimizing? I understand. But say this, for instance, man, if they go, they see the chick, she got money, boom, they pull a lick, somewhere in the commission of a crime, a gun goes off, she gets hit, whatever. That's really not a bad case. Not in the eyes of the criminal world. To me, I'd be like, you know, it ain't cool, but it's not nothing where you can't walk a main line. But after the fact, what they chose to do for hours and hours on end, forcing this chick, man, that right there isn't. So that is what Milk said. Milk's like, if you're going to tell the story, Chinaman, you got to tell the full story. And this is what it is. You know, now Milk has been known to do that. He's been known to expose people. But I got to say in this case, and I know it was hard for Milk to do being a Hoover and not really wanting to put Hoover's business out there, to do that. Now, do I think that in the future, this could start a beef between Big Chinaman and from Hoover and Milk? Quite possibly, but I don't think so. I don't think Milk was doing it to put Chinaman on blast or to start a beef. You know, I think Milk was being real and righteous, and I got to agree with him in this situation. And I fuck with Chinaman's channel tough. Tap into Damian Porter's channel. He has great stories. He's unbiased. It's just real, right? And I know he is who he says he is because I heard his name way back in the days. I'm stamping it right now. He was that one, at least in the youth authority. In prison, I don't know what happened. I never ran into him, never did time with him on the yard, but I'm sure he kept it pushing. He kept it going, right? Motherfuckers don't switch up. They just keep doing what they know how to do. And he's righteously got a good reputation and a good name. But again, Milk, when it comes to the social media shit, has been known to expose people, has been known to keep it real. You know, let me tell you guys, I did an interview with Milk. It was a while back. It was about a year ago. I guess he did a video. And people felt like he disrespected Mexicans. The essays is what they called it. I was getting all kinds of DMs. Hey, bro, did you see Milk disrespecting Mexicans? So I did a video, point blank, asking Milk why. Why would you do that? See, I did time with Hoovers. And Hoovers were always cool with Southsiders. They were always cool with one particular barrio, which was 18th Street. In fact, there's an 18th Street that's called Hoover Locals that actually were cool with Hoovers. I'd seen Hoovers hit up 18. I've seen it with my own eyes in the youth authority and in prison, right? So I questioned that and I said, hey, bro, having that interaction with 18 and other Mexicans, why would you go that route? He called me on IG and said, hey, bro, it's nothing like that. I'll give you the full exclusive. Let's sit down. Just let me roll this little blunt up real quick and we'll do a fucking interview right now. We did that. Okay. And Milk's energy was Milk's energy and he was pretty decent, man. And he was cool. And I remember asking him one particular question and him answering it. And I knew he was a real one by the way he answered it. Okay. This is facts. Not a real one as far as gangster. Not a real one as far as being from Hoover. Not a real one as being a white guy from a black gang. None of that. None of that street bullshit. But just a real man by the way he answered the question. I said, hey, bro, what were you doing before you did social media, YouTube? Before you blew up on YouTube, Milk TV, what were you doing? He said, shit, I was with the Mexicans washing dishes. I could never be mad at a Mexican, bro. Man, we was working side by side. The way he said it, nonchalantly, as real as it gets, without trying to act all extra like people say, oh, bro, I was fucking a banker, or oh, I was a lawyer. So I just found. Nah, he was like, I wash dishes. I said, what are you going to do if your channel, something happens? I'll go back to washing dishes. There you go. That's when I knew he's a real one as far as being a man who's not scared to admit his faults, his truths, his lies, everything. And I respect him for that. Now, in this case with Milk and Damian Porter not seeing eye to eye, doesn't mean they're still not homies. Doesn't mean they're not friends. Doesn't mean they're not from the same hood. It just means they could agree to disagree on something. There's going to be a lot of people that try to start that friction and start that beef. And that ain't cool. But I think Milk was just trying to tell the true story. Like, hey, bro, this fool ain't fucking what he's cracked up to be. This fool is actually a sex offender, bro. This fool is doing some weird shit. You know, and that's just it. Now, people are trying to make it more to like, oh, man, Milk's hating on Chinaman or vice versa. And I don't think that's the case, man. I think this just is a situation where Chinaman having so much love for his hood, and I could be wrong, but having so much love for his hood, he told half the story and didn't want to put his homeboy's bad breath out there. You know, didn't want to put the stinkiness of the true situation out there. And I understand, you know, but let me tell you what I done before when I knew a stinky situation was going on in my neighborhood. So I had a homeboy from my hood. Okay, knew him, grew up together, was the homie. Did we kick it all the time? Not really. He was from a different crew in the neighborhood. Like, he was on the outside looking in from the real ones, but he was a homeboy. There's no denying that. He was a northerner, red rags, pictures, parties, all that. I ended up going to the youth authority, caught my murder case. I was gone. I was out the way for a lot of years. So in that meantime, in between time, he did what he did in the hood. He was still a homie. I didn't hear nothing bad about him. I remember getting out, wiggling, doing my thing. He was around at parties, functions. He was a homeboy. He was a Norteño. That's a fact, right? So now I'm in Corcoran prison. It's years later. I end up in Corcoran and I'm a functioning Norteño and there's fucking less than 10 of us on the yard at that time. There more came eventually, but there wasn't very many of us. They had just got into it with the woods, man. Some had cracked off. A lot of homeboys left the yard because of that, or got pulled off the yard because they were involved in that melee. So there wasn't very many of us. The ones that were there were a couple that were at work or just didn't participate and went into a lockdown situation, and then more northerners came, right? So I'm there, and there's 150 Southsiders there, gang of whites, blacks, others. There was a big-ass Uso there I was real cool with, man. He was like, don't trip, Sole, I got you if anything goes down. There was no expectations there. I didn't expect it, but just him saying that, man, I felt like, okay, cool. So anyways, the homeboy lands. I'm like, cool. I tell one of the homeboys from Stockton, hey, there's another homie. You know what I'm saying? They got him right now on AdSeg Overflow, but he's going to come out here, bro. Like, that's the homie and shit. And next thing you know, I see him on the other side of the yard with the paisas. And so we don't really fraternize like that. So I'm walking the yard like, what the fuck is this dude doing? Is he going to get off or he's mad at? No, he kicks it. And now anyone that's done time in California prison system understands that the paisas and the Southsiders are on the same side of the yard and they're cool with each other, right? So this dude went in there and played the paisa role. Now, I could have exposed him. I could have went over there like on some gangster shit. And of course, because the paisas accepted him, now the paisas are going to feel some type of way. Southsiders are going to jump in. Next thing you know, there's going to be no more Northerners on that yard, right? And we couldn't lose our flag that was planted on that yard. So I just had to fucking bite my teeth, grit my teeth, right? All right, this is what I did. So I had about 6 months left. I did my time. He was still there functioning. He did about another year. I get on down the road. I get out, do my thing, right? I knew he had to come back home. And I'm going to wait. I didn't forget. I'm going to hold the homeboy from my neighborhood accountable, right? Facts. And like I said, I was still functioning. The functioning gunner is not Gunner. The functioning gunner was Skinner, right? I was different. I had a whole different mentality. And so he actually was with my prima Vero. That was her old man. That was her baby daddy. So I didn't know that at the time, but I found out fast enough, right? So I'm chilling with some primos and, hey, fucking Vero's old man's getting out. Oh, yeah, who's her old man? They say his name. I'm like, oh, is that right? Okay, damn, where you been that little $50 you owe me, right? I've been looking for him. So sure enough, he gets out. I give him a day to spend with his children. And then I know, man, my prima's not going to be there. She took the kids. They bounced. He's at the pad chilling by himself. My primo I already gave my primo, her brother, the rundown, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, homie. You know, he's like, all right, cool. Let's get it. And now, mind you, he gets out and his family are homeboys. So he's already a homeboy again, all of a sudden, right? He didn't tell anyone he was running paisa in there. Didn't tell anyone he was functioning with the Southsiders in there. Didn't tell anyone that if the Northerners and the paisas would have got off, he'd have smashed on a homeboy. Didn't tell them none of that. Went over there and tried to skate by sneakily, right? Cool. He opened the door. I opened his face. That was it. Me and my homeboy me and my primo got the, Of course, his old lady comes home. She mad at me. She's still mad at me to this day because I beat her baby daddy up. Doesn't understand why, right? It's none of her business why. But that's what the real deal was. You hold your own people accountable even more so than anyone. And I think, and I tell you guys that story, I say that to say this. I think in this case with Chinaman telling the story, and I've done it myself, man, where there's a homeboy that was borderline, looks like he's going to lose his mind. You don't really want to expose his hand, but if you're going to be a social media content creator, you got to say it all, right? Especially if you're talking about, hey, this is the little homie, he was next man up, he was this, he was that, he's not that no more. He's on the SNY yard for a sex offense, bro. Like, I wouldn't even tell that story, right? But not being disrespectful, I'm saying Chinaman did what he did, man. And Milk exposed it. So you tell me, what do you guys think? I'm going to say in this case, man, shout out, respects, all that to Chinaman for the great content he brings. But I think he took an elbow on this one. I think this one goes to Milk round one because Milk at least said, you know what? I don't care if that fool's from my hood, man. There's a reason why he is where he is. Let's put it all out there, right? Again, I don't think he was trying to minimize Chinaman, trying to clown. He was just putting out the truth. Now, I advise both of you guys, man. Here's just some advice, bro. You can take it or you can leave it. I don't give a fuck. Milk's probably like, fuck you, Rona Bleezy. Do what you do with your fucked up hairline, right? And I heard your old lady left you. I know you're going through it, bro, but I don't want to see you in a tent again at all. I'll tell you this, and this is the truth. There's going to be a lot of people trying to stir the pot and try to cause controversy. I'm not one of them. I want to see Chinaman and Milk come together like butt cheeks, man, and do some real shit. You know, I want to see you guys, because you guys are representatives of Hoover that I think do it well. You know, I was real skeptical about Milk at first. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Why? Because he's a damn white man, brother, from a black neighborhood. It just didn't sit well with me at first, right? But then after I seen the way he is and what he does, I don't condone everything. I definitely didn't condone him over there fucking giving Adam a reach around. But I will say, man, that every conversation or the conversation that I did have with Milk, he kept it real, and I respect that, right? As far as Chinaman, man, it's nothing but respect, big homie. You know what I mean? To me, You're a YA baby, bro. You've been there. You've done that. You breathe fire with the dragons, homie. I know what it is, and I know what you were doing as far as not exposing your homeboy's hands. But sometimes we have to wash our hands of the homies, man. Hey, there's moral standards and values in the streets. And even though I'm not in the streets anymore, I still have rules and regulations I live by. There's still people I just can't or cannot fuck with. It's just what it is. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be a head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. And that's the betterment of all people. I'm not doing this video to stir the pot. I'm doing this video to do a video. It's Friday. Fuck it. The gun. Bang, bang.